welcome to my channel. There's my red thumb. I've been playing in inks today. Love you guys. Thank you for showing up and coming on over to check out what I'm up to today in my craft room. I am making a mess. And it's not as bad as it could be. But as you can see, my fingers have, yeah, they're just lovely colors. So, I don't have an example out in front of me because I need you to brace yourself, because what I'm going to show you is pretty bold to start. Okay, so I'm going to move my little stamp. Did I say I love you guys? I love you guys. You are loved. All right, I'm talking about paper today. Paper that is lonely, forgotten, unwanted, and left for naught. My brights. They're bright. They're good cardstock. They're plain. Whoops. They're just too bright. I just don't know what to do with them. There's ugly scrapbook, you know, paper that you can paint over, and I know I can paint. But before I went and got out my jelly plate and got out my, yeah, this just hurts my eyes. I'm moving it back over here. Before I got out my jelly plate and all my paints, because that's a last resort for me. Actually, that would be an easier course of action, right? Just paint over everything. I wanted to see if I could think of other ideas instead of just flat painting over it. Now, I've been sitting here almost all day for the last several hours, just putzing around, watching videos. But let me just show you what I came up with. So something like this can be a base for a glue book page. So there's some pictures that would work with the orange. And then also you can, you know, edge up, put some pattern on the back with a stencil, and some ink, or you could doodle. So, you know, cut out some pictures. This could be, this was a thin piece of the orange. But yeah, and it doesn't make my page too thick. In fact, it reinforces it somewhat. And I didn't put it quite to the edge because I didn't want it to interfere with the bind, the spine part. So that is something easy, simple. That was like, let's just do that to start with. That was one of the first things I tried. So definitely can be used for such. And then napkin. This is the pink paper, and I used just a plain napkin and some glue, but I still have the back side, and I guess I could napkin that. But this is possibly usable in a vintage junk journal, and I could do some distress ink on it, or I could even do some more stenciling on it with that. But so that's an easy thing to do. And if you've got a napkin supply like I have, you could finish all of the papers in this manner if you have a napkin supply like I have. Let's just stick with the pinks right now. Okay, so I also thought about printing some stuff off. What does a printed page look like? This was a photocopy of lace that I had scanned and put on my printer, and I think this might be able to be used for a vintage journal. I don't know. It's still pretty bright. I don't know, but I put it with some coffee dyed paper, and it looked okay. Hold on a second here. I know I've got a swatch. So, you know, you put it with coffee dyed paper, and it's still pretty bold. Again, you distress it maybe with some vintage photo or something to that effect. But so I think I'm going to try it in a vintage book. Don't quite know yet, but that was an option. That was an option. And fun thing, I have a spritzer bottle. It's just an old Body Splash bottle that I filled with coffee water, and I just sprayed it and let it dry, and that turned out pretty cool. Can you see a little? Yeah, that turned out pretty cool. The lighting glare, sorry. But that was cool. And I dabbed it dry with a paper towel, and I wish I would have used like a white napkin or something less, but the pink was coming up. So I think maybe this would be okay to use with vintage, as in a vintage as well. So some coffee dyed paper. It made it more of a dusty. It still looks really bright on the camera, but for reals it doesn't. But then you could put a flower on it or some other sort of embellishment to tone it down one more level. So, okay, but still got the back side. All right, so what else I got? And then I went and pulled out my gelatos as per one of the people that I was looking at for ideas, and I just kind of mushed all the colors together, and this looks more mixed media. This down here might be able to be used as possible vintage, but still quite bold for a color. A background, that might be a cool background, but yeah, this looks a little more mixed media than it would be for vintage. So that was that one, and these are my gelato. I don't have that many, but and I don't use them that often either. Okay, let's do our lone green, or lorne green, or lone green. Vintage photo, and I did stenciling with the vintage photo. I tried to tone it down a little bit, so I used this stencil and this stencil. I couldn't even tell you where I got them from. This one came with my gelatos. This one right here, this filigree. And it's pretty messed up. But yeah, I don't know. Again, more mixed media. Without going and getting out my gel plate. And this is white gesso. So it's just, I don't know. I'm not thrilled. Anyway, so that, you know, I can see me using it. I definitely will use it. It'll go in my painted papers stash. So same with that pink one. All right, let's look at the oranges. I took one of the papers and did a few different things. White gesso over the whole thing. And then some texture paste. Unfortunately, my stencil was a mess, so I got all kinds of blacks and browns and gooey looking colors, but it still looks all right. And again, probably go in, although this actually looks like salmon to me. It looks like when you cook a salmon, but yeah, that looks like salmon to me, but still got huge orange. Orange is huge. Anyway, painted papers pile, I guess. But let's take a look here. How does it look with it's pretty pale. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure about success on this one. And this is definitely just paints. It was candied apple and pumpkin, whatever, the tiny distress inks. These two guys, candied apple, abandoned coral, that's the one, not the pumpkin. Pumpkin's somewhere else. But yeah, and some blue just ink I dropped on there just to see what it would do. So that's cool on that side. I mean, so again, painted papers pile. And this was just a mess. It's just ugly. So when I get ready to do some painting with my jelly print, that's definitely going to get redone. Ugly. But other two pieces of orange. Here's orange with the coffee spray and dried. Now that looks really cool. And this is the napkin that came off of that, the paper towel. So I can see using the paper towels definitely for any vintage stuff. But I don't know about the orange. Still looks cool. I think it would look good with Let me see, I've got a, I guess that would work, you know, then that would still be vintage, and you could vintage photo the edges a little bit. Yeah, okay, I could see that. I could see that on vintage. It's a stretch a little bit, but it's definitely a pop color. But I do like all of the different levels of orange and how it moved around while it was drying. I think that looks cool. And here's a printout. Now I think this might be able to be used as well. It's not too bold. And again, if you zhuzh it down a little bit with some vintage photo, or any kind of distress ink that you like. Black might work good, but then you got a Halloween vibe if that's what you're going for. So that's a possibility. But yeah, I don't know how I'm going to use all those, but I mean, seriously, so bright. Those papers were so bright. And again, I'm going to probably get my gel plate out one of these days and mess with those. But here's the stencils that I was using. This is one of the bigger stencils I have. And this was a pretty cool stencil. This, like I said, this came with my gel, these guys, my Faber-Castell gelatos. And actually it came with several. So that was actually a really good deal. But I honestly don't use them that much. A couple other ideas. Use them as a glue. Use them as a glue base, you know, for masterboards. You could do that, but you still have the back to contend with. And honestly, the paper is really a good quality, so you're going to end up with something really thick, which could possibly be a cover, maybe, for a journal. So paint them with gesso stamps or stencils, print on them, and I tried that, not so great. It could be a matte layer for card making. So, you know, you've got, yeah, I'm not a card maker, but you know what I mean. It could be the back end of something, and I could see this being a good matte layer because of all the different lines and stuff that the coffee dye made. What else? Make them into an envelope, but even still, the envelope is just, that's bright, man. That's just so bright. Die cut them. Use a vellum overlay. I saw that as an option if you've got a printed vellum. I didn't do that. Vellum overlay. Let me look here. What would, oh, that's really pretty. Okay, that's not a bad option. That tones it down quite a bit, but that's a pretty fibrous vellum. And that's just plain. So, you know, vellum overlay, that's not a bad idea. I've only got some scraps of vellum left. Huh, okay. I could see that on the pink. That would definitely tone it down. And then you could sew and add a picture, something to that effect, to make it layers of 3. So there's that. Interesting. Ink blend on gesso. So kind of did that already. And then you can make punches or shapes with them. But even still, I'd still want to put some sort of color on it or just tone it down because that's just such a bright color. So that's what I came up with for just a few ways to do this before I would paint on it. I don't have any Delusions spray. That would be something too you could use to tone down these pages. Really, if you guys have any ideas, let me know what you do. I mean, honestly, I was just kind of stumped, and I was looking all over the internet trying to find ideas. So, nothing else is coming to my mind right now. But that's it. I mean, you guys, if you have some ideas on what to do with this bold cardstock it's been sitting so long and it's lonely. I feel bad that I don't have the creativity to make it into something usable. But if all else fails, I'm gonna maybe do a deeper coffee dunk with them, and then jelly plate them. That's about all I can think of to do with them. So that's, it's kind of a lame video, you guys. But yeah, it's a struggle, and some days are like that, right? Some days are like that. All right, that's it. That's all I have the capacity right now to deal with. I'm tired, honestly. This was a stretch. So I love you guys. Thanks for coming on over and checking this out and seeing what I'm up to. All right, folks. I hope you're having a great day and enjoying your crafting day more than me right now. But that's all well and good. I'm still very fortunate to be able to come into my craft room and figure things out and play. It's still a good play. Still a good play session. All right, friends. We'll talk to you next time. I hope you're doing great and figuring out what has our intrinsic value for you. And we'll talk to you next time. I said that already. All right. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.